Listen, laugh, and learn.
You have to drill that target audience.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Until they are consuming your product, not because they love it, but because they can't escape.
We're all business.
Drill, baby, no more pussyfooting around.
Except when we're not.
Welcome to the Focus Group. I'm John Nash, and as always, I'm joined by my very good friend and co-host, Tim Bennett. We're all business except when we're not, and you can now find us everywhere. And Tim, why don't we talk about everywhere? Everywhere is now no longer our old platform.
No longer the old platform, which we got our chops on for about 7 years. This was actually our third iteration, right? We started at one, went to another. They were both pay.
They're both paywalls.
The great thing about this is we're free. And the best way to find us, I think, is at focusgroupradio.com.
Yep.
And you can explain how that's going to work. Do you hit a button?
Yeah, when we go to focusgroupradio.com, you're going to hit a landing page, and you can choose your platform of choice. iTunes, TuneIn. Obviously, our site will play the audio, and we're going to be on YouTube thanks to the station we're in. Manning the boards today and helping us do all the work we do is Garrett on sound and John on audio. So when you have a John on anything, things are going to be
Well, I figured John would be the tech guy, wouldn't you? I mean,
Yeah,
John's are
exactly.
usually tech guys. So so we've been off for, we took a
hiatus.
hiatus. I was going to say
It's kind of like
for-
Kelly Ripa's doing with Michael Strahan. Or, when that little fracas happened
I
with
don't think that's a
ABC.
big deal myself, but
Well,
we can
she
talk
makes
about that
millions,
later.
we don't, but yeah.
But what have you been doing for the last 2 months?
Quick little reset for all our listeners who are finding us once again from the old platform. You know the shtick. Focus Group is a show about business, the consumer culture, and the 40-hour work week and how we get stuff done. Tim and I have operated in that field in different capacities. Tim was the director of marketing and advertising for Subaru of America, and I've owned two different agencies. I'm basically a gypsy.
But you were the
corporate
agency
guy.
that did all of the
LGBT.
world-famous and award-winning LGBT work for Subaru for 15 years. So don't take light of that.
I won't take any light of that. And if you're just finding us, I hope that gives you a kind of an intro to where we're at. But we're not, when we talk about business, we're not talking Kramer style.
NASDAQ.
We're not doing NASDAQ, stock quotes, things like that. We draw our experiences from that crazy 40 to 60 hours a week people spend their lives doing, and I think it's a lot of fun. So here we are, and we're in New Digs, and we have a great show planned for you guys today. So Tim's question from earlier, what did we do when we got the news?
Yeah, no, I jumped the gun, John. I know you were...
No, on Groundhog Day, which I think was an appropriate day for this, right?
February 2nd, right?
We get this call from our programming director, and she says, actually it was an email, I apologize. She says, I want to talk to you guys about something. Now, in the business world, when someone tells you they want to talk to you about something, and I think in personal life too, something is never a good thing. Am I right about this?
Although it said today or tomorrow. So
Well,
because
the
it said-
urgency was
because
not
it said
there,
today
yeah.
or tomorrow, I thought, well, maybe not a big deal. They're getting rid of one of the shows. We've heard that before, right? So, yeah.
So I called Tim up, and in good corporate fashion, we decide we're going to quarterback the call before the call happens.
Right.
And this is what you should do. If you're going to have a conference call with someone, you want to basically know what you're going to do, and we talk 5 minutes before, and we always hang up the phone. Never continue a private conversation on a conference call. Tip number one. Hang up and redial. So I call her up, and she's like, well, here's what's happening. The channel you guys are on is going away.
No.
Oh, sorry.
The people who know you, you know
Leave
that
it
you
in.
have to. You did all the niceties. Pretty day. How you doing? How are the kids? What's going on? How's your husband? What did you do this weekend?
Oh, I did that with her, yeah, because I
And then
thought
she
maybe
says,
it would
"Let me
change the
cut
outcome.
Well, no outcome change. She goes, let me cut right to the chase and stop all the niceties. You've been canceled. The whole channel's been canceled.
Yeah, you're right. Your memory is better than mine. I've already glossed it over. I've changed the memory already, right?
So then John says, well, what does that mean? And she says, well, it means, this, that, and the other thing. And so for us, it was not unexpected.
Yeah.
But because, as many people know, you and I for a long time have talked about what's going on with LGBT media and what seems to be happening in the LGBT space overall, whether it's corporations that aren't marketing to the consumer anymore, or it's the fragmentation, or really the consolidation of media. So we weren't surprised, but we still felt it was necessary to have a platform and to speak to the audience, which was a nice, humbling thing for you and I, was the amount of outreach that we had.
And then, for years we've been talking to our audience about the importance of LinkedIn and resume updating and networking, and suddenly within 2 seconds we were on that side of the equation.
Yep.
in a very unusual fashion. You know, I've been an entrepreneur all my business career. I did have a couple jobs out of college. They didn't last longer than 8 months apiece. Not because I didn't like them. I just thought, oh, this is for the birds. But so that thing happens right away when something drastic career-wise happens, and that is the minute
Did you panic?
I didn't really panic, but I thought, my God, I haven't done a resume in 25 years.
And you're not about to.
That's my version of panicking, saying I haven't done my resume in 25 years. So then I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? You know, years ago, Tim told me I was unemployable.
Well, I'm good.
You know, right?
You're a 1099 guy. You're not a W-2.
1099.
Which is what I went and
I think if
talked-
you're 1099, you're 1099. If you're W-2, you're W-2, right?
I went to a friend who's a career coach, and he and I met for a coffee, and we're talking. And after about 2 hours into it, because he said, "Here's what you and John could do with focus group," and he had a lot of great ideas. And I said, you know, I had this opportunity to go talk to a craft brewer about being
I remember that.
president of marketing.
You were skeptical, but
Skeptical, but I went through the process, and I made it down to the final cut. But I knew where it went off track right away, because anyone who
The
knows me
interview or
from anyone who knows me from the show knows I speak my mind probably too much. So
in fact, your nickname at Subaru was
Mandaji, which
means
the nail that's always up. You got to bang it down.
that nail. You get
Dodgy.
caught on that
So
nail. Yeah.
we're sitting there with the whole leadership team, and there's human
At the brewery.
At the brewery, and the human resources director says, "What do you think of performance reviews?" I said, "I hate them. I don't think they're necessary." There's dead silence in the room.
Pan face.
And I said, "If you are not communicating with your employees to the point where they know what's going on,
And,
there's
what's
no
the
need
point
for
of
me at
review?
the end of the year to have a surprise." So she just looks at me, and the owner, to his credit, just laughs and said, "I agree with you." But of course, that wasn't the way they were
I
going.
thought you were going to get tripped up on hops and barley, but
Well, I had to do
they
a
might
lot
have
of
asked you, like, where's the best barley come from? Or, you know, because it's a
Germany,
craft brew-
apparently, from what I read.
Imported from Germany, okay.
Germany or England. So that was, so then I'd gone to this career coach, and he said, "You know, I really don't see you as a 9-to-5er. He said, maybe you're a 1099 kind of person," which was not a good feeling for me. I was a bit panicked.
Yeah. Well, you know, Tim has always prided himself on your corporate chops, and you've navigated that sea pretty well. Good. You're a shark.
But the great thing that happened to you and I, and we've been very fortunate, you and I have built up a group of partners and sponsors here in the focus group. And Volkswagen, one of the first to reach out with us when they heard about what was happening with the show. And we said to them, stay tuned. We're going to figure some stuff out. And sure enough, they're still with us. So we want to thank the folks at Volkswagen for staying with us, believing in us. and
You got that
making
at
sure-
LL
what
Bean,
are you
didn't
looking
you?
at?
That shirt. You got that at LL Bean when we were on a road trip.
Yeah,
Was that the Jetta
If you've
road?
not seen the show before, this is how it goes.
Was that the Jetta road trip?
Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
I
what
love
got.
that.
That's-
Okay.
Where's your sweater?
I'm going to wear a gray one like that we got on that trip. And I only say this because VW sent us last year on a great road trip to Ogunquit,
Right.
and to P-Town, and we got to tour the LL Bean facility, saw where the boots and the bags are made. Great, beautiful car, Jetta sedan, top of the line. We were playing with CarPlay, and there was an Android equivalent.
Yeah.
The apps come up on the screen. We dropped the car off. The very next day, Tim says, "Have you seen the New York Times?" Nowadays, I don't read. I mean, paper is unusual, but I call up the iPad and I said, "Yes." And I stopped talking because the headline was Volkswagen is implicated in
Dieselgate.
basically lying and defrauding people, which no one's happy about. And we had a whole big conversation about that over on the other platform.
By the way, since that's happened, a bit of an update, which, Audi developed that software in 1999. I don't know if you read that.
I did. And Mitsubishi was just
And Mitsubishi
in Japan,
said,
a million vehicles, emissions scandal problem.
Yeah. And, but John and I did a whole show, our whole segment related to that. And what our whole position on that was it was wrong. But it
No
was
one's whitewashing that.
No, it's not. No one's whitewashing it, but it was also the fact that they've been supportive of us for 7, going on 8 years, and have been very supportive of LGBT media. So for us, we want to see how they're going to handle it. It's still to be decided. In the
Today
next,
was the
next
deadline,
week
the
or two.
judge, yeah.
They're going to be deciding what's going to happen. So, but we want to thank Volkswagen for their support of the focus.
And you know, we always say you're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
No.
You know, yes, this is a massive problem, and again, not whitewashing it, but they do make a fine vehicle. We've been privileged to drive a number of them, and I'm just really pleased that they decided to stay with us and primarily our audience, and to really speak directly to the LGBT consumer and anybody else who's tuning in. So that's where we are, and I think we should resume our normal format, Tim.
Is that how we're going to do it? So, did you
Yes.
have a caught my eye?
Yeah, so Tim and I, each show we have items, and this comes from your grandmother. right?
We had to come to the dinner table with an item. We had to read
Item.
the paper and then come to I think it was the Nova Scotia, whatever, hacky paper. And was it Shipping News?
Yeah, it was the
And
Shipping
we had
News.
to come with something that you saw in the paper and come talk about it at the dinner table. So we've been doing this on the show. And it's always funny what we both come up
Okay,
with.
so I picked this
What did you
first
do this
one
week?
in honor of you.
Uh-oh.
And this is, and one of our partners, actually. We've been fortunate to be sponsored or to be helped by Wells Fargo. Now, Wells Fargo is in a spat with the Minnesota Vikings and the stadium they play out of, because the stadium is sponsored by U.S. Bank. And what they did, Wells Fargo has 2 new buildings that are built, like across the street from the stadium. And what they did is they put 2 lighted signs on the roof, 56 feet by 56 feet, that could only be seen from above. So that's one of those choppers
Yeah.
photographing the game below, and then the camera pans over, and there's Wells Fargo, but U.S. Bank is the sponsor of the stadium. So
No problem with that.
Well, why did I pick that for you?
Because BMW did that in the Olympics to, I believe, General Motors down in Atlanta. General Motors
remember
was the
this, yeah.
sponsor of the Olympics. And BMW was smart enough to buy all the billboards around it. So it looked like, people, is that the one you're thinking of, or was it a different?
Oh, and I think the Gorge Games.
Yeah.
You executed a guerrilla buy on every billboard around where the Gorge Games were being held that year for Subaru, and they were pissed.
The one that got pissed the most, though, I don't know if you remember this one. Remember, Outback Steakhouse?
Yeah.
So there was something called Football Outback Bowl. So we had bought all this advertising for the Outback car, for the Subaru Outback. So we bought all this media around the football game, and everybody thought it was the Subaru Outback that was sponsoring it rather than Outback Steakhouse. And they did call and complain to us. Said, hey, we bought the media. It's up to you.
I have another one, but I'll let you go with one before I go back to my little comment.
You want to do it? Or
No, go ahead. We
Okay,
can
so
go back and
this one,
forth.
you and I had rented an Airbnb. It was Hugh Hefner's wife's cousin, sister's niece place or something, wasn't it? You and I had that
His
Airbnb.
current wife's mother. So it's his mother-in-law. His current mother-in-law's apartment. Yeah.
So this one I found. So the headline says it all: weekend renters find corpse in garden at Paris Airbnb home.
That's almost as good as headless body.
So French
Topless
authorities
bar.
are investigating the death of a woman whose decomposing body was found in the garden at an Airbnb rental right outside of Paris. So they said that there was a group of young people, 20-somethings, that had discovered the body in the afternoon. The police started questioning them. So they rented this house in the suburbs of Paris, about 30 minutes outside of Paris. And while they were wandering around the yard, they found this dead body lying there decomposing. So they said the house belongs to a family of 7 who left to go on vacation in another region. And the police were waiting for them to return to be questioned. The body was laying there. They said it didn't look like there was any problems. He said the corpse was covered with tree branches, and it looked like it was deliberately placed there. It was a woman in her 40s. She had her clothes on. They said that
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad
the owners
to hear she
came
had
and they were
clothes on.
the owners came and they were distraught because they said, what would have happened if our young children had made this gruesome discovery in our yard?
The owners of the Airbnb.
Right, they came back. The police questioned them. They said
They
that
weren't distraught that the people they rented.
oh, they didn't want the kids to see it. So French authorities, no surprise, have not established a cause of death. They said since then, the 7-bedroom 19th century house has been taken off the market. It has been removed from Airbnb until they figure out what happened. It was renting for $435 a night U.S. So that was what can you imagine finding something like that?
Well, my next one's kind of boring compared to that.
All right.
Mine, I mean, it's more of a business story. It's companies in Middle America want to recruit more LGBT workers, and a surprise brand to me.
Believe that?
I do. I don't think I think when you're an employer and you want skilled and problem solvers and quality people, you can't necessarily differentiate where on the spectrum they are or
Get yourself a gay?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's get yourself a gay, but but here's the brand, Hormel Foods. And what is Hormel's claim to fame?
Meat.
Well, specifically, Spam. Hormel makes Spam.
Is that what they make Spam?
Yeah.
Well, isn't he the guy who was gay? He was the ambassador to like Liechtenstein or something.
I don't know.
Remember him, James Hormel? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you may be right.
think so.
All right, so Hormel did this thing where they basically put on their corporate calendar the Pride events that the company would either let you celebrate or that they were taking a celebratory view for. They got a lot of pushback from their employees. And they pushed back. HR said, "Hey, it's 2016. We have I think they had a 15 rating on the Human Rights HRC's Corporate Equality Index." And here we are a little bit later, and I think this was a year ago. They're now up at 100. And the conversation that was brought to the forefront by this notion of including LGBT events and holidays on the corporate calendar has proven to be very good for the company. So it opened up a lot of dialogue amongst employees and amongst management, and now they have a 100. And if you feel like working and you want to can some spam, then I insist you go out to the
Well, we better tell
to
Ed.
the Hormel company.
Maybe they could be a sponsor. I used to like
I would
spam
like,
as a kid.
you know, I don't mind if we have spam up there.
You on that, Eddie?
That little spam can could pop up, right?
Well, I like that one. That's a good one. So today in history, and so what we're going to do, we're going to change this a little bit. We're going to do a kind of a week in history, some day in history, some week in history, and then we're doing our business birthdays instead of just regular birthdays. But I did see this, that Saturday, April 30th is National Raisin Day. Do you know where most of the raisins come from in this country? Any
When I
guess?
say California,
You'd be right. California.
because aren't raisins just grapes that are?
It's grapes.
Yeah.
They're grapes that are dehydrated. They've been doing it for thousands of years.
I want to warn you. Are you a raisin fan?
Yeah.
Oh, do you drink a lot of water when you eat raisins?
No.
Uh-oh.
Why?
They bind you up. They bind you up.
I thought they
Just
made
drink
you.
more
I thought
water.
they made you go like prunes.
Eh,
No?
I don't know. Maybe for you, but for me, I don't know.
Well, it's Raisin Day. 1947, the name of Boulder Dam in Nevada was changed back to Hoover Dam.
Hoover Dam, right.
Right. 1952, this came from one of our fans, Paul in Mass. In 1952, Mr. Potato Head became the very first toy to be advertised on network television.
Really?
Yeah, the very first toy. I was surprised by that.
Wait a minute. Do you have a Mr. Potato Head?
Oh, of course. Then you use the real
loved
potato.
him, and then I lost his arm, then I lost his eye, then I lost his ear, and then my parents refused to get me another Mr. Potato Head, so here we are.
It seemed to be a problem.
Broken
with
child.
broken
years
toys.
later.
The on Sunday, May 1st, in 2011, you might remember this, President Barack Obama announced that we had killed Osama bin Laden.
Remember that? And then they released that famous picture of all of them in the Situation Room,
Right.
looking somewhere. They're looking,
And they all put on the hat of from the royal wedding
the fascinators.
down at the Abbottabad, right, in Pakistan. Monday the 2nd, it was reported that Phyllis Diller had retired from touring. Did you ever read Gone with the Wind?
No,
I
Margaret
didn't either.
Mitchell, right?
Why would you? Watch the movie. But on May 3rd, she won the Pulitzer Prize for Gone
Why
with the Wind.
would you watch the movie?
May 6th, the New York Yankees became the very first Major League Baseball team to travel by airplane. I don't know where they were going. Maybe went up to Philly.
Always the first for New York, right?
You think?
Yeah,
Fly to Newark? It's cheaper.
exactly. They flew from LaGuardia to JFK.
Business birthdays. We're the only show in the universe that does business birthdays. The only show, right, John? Business birthday. Thursday, May 5th, John B. Stetson.
Stetson hats?
Stetson hats. He was born on this day in 1830. Or, I'm sorry, he was born May 5th, 1830. He died at 75 in February. He came up with the idea by, he was traveling out west and noticed that a lot of the workers were using coonskin caps. And they were all filled with fleas and vermin and so forth. So he decided, similar to Jay Samit, remember we had him on
Yep.
the show with the book Disrupt You?
Disrupt you.
That the simplest idea is usually the best one or most successful. So Stetson went and developed the cowboy hat, known as the Stetson. And what people loved about it was they said that you could use the bucket to water your horse, which I didn't realize that.
The hat itself.
Right. So it's a waterproof felt, and they said you could also use it to fan yourself, and you can use the crown to take a drink of water. So
Now, people say you can do all that, but do you think Stetson actually thought that this is what I'm going to do with this
well, I
hat?
was wondering
I'm
if
gonna
we
make
should
it like,
try. Yeah, I was
You
wondering
can
if
shave out of it. You can drink out of it.
you can make a hat, you can make a brooch. I was wondering about that, but so the company ended up becoming one of the largest manufacturers in the world with hats, based in Philadelphia. But so there was lots of information about Stetson, but I thought that was a good one. I always appreciate some of these business birthdays.
How old was he again when he 70?
He died at 75.
75.
in
75. How long ago was that? Because for a male
Died in
his age
1906.
at 75, all right, so 75. My God,
75.
he didn't do bad.
He just missed his 76th birthday. He's at a cemetery called West Laurel Hill Cemetery in Ballackinwood, PA, which ironically I've gone to an event there because they do a lot of LGBT-themed events there, and they're trying to get LGBT people to use that cemetery, which I think is a unique marketing idea. So That's our
his
business
birthday.
birthday. So it's the focus group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. We're going to take a quick break. If you want to follow along or listen to the show, be sure to go to Focus Group Radio. As John said, there's a landing page. Click listen, and we're free. So we'll be right back.
The Focus Group is brought to you by the newly redesigned Volkswagen Passat, where family happens. Visit VW.com to learn more.
Now back to the Focus Group with Tim and John.
Because he has a lot of chutzpah.
An entertaining look at the world of business.
Heads are spinning, heads are spinning.
Listen, laugh, and learn.
I am not gay. I never have been gay.
That's perverse.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash here with Tim Bennett. Find us at focusgroupradio.com, and all the information for the various platforms that we are on will be there for you. And actually, I think YouTube's going to be one of them. You and I were a little resistant to the notion of video, but I personally am enjoying it.
John likes the way he looks.
I think I look good on TV, yeah, or this TV at least.
Your mother will tell you anyway. You look good.
Hey, we didn't get to do a week in science,
Oh, we didn't.
but I have two quick ones. One was for you.
Uh-oh.
One of Tim's favorite historical characters is Benjamin Franklin.
Yes.
And on May 2nd, Ben Franklin basically discovered the Gulf Stream because he was deputy postmaster for the British colonies, and he found that ships took 2 weeks longer to bring the mail over from England than it did to go back.
That's a bunch of BS.
It is not.
Yes.
Thus
The Gulf
Franklin
Stream.
became the first to chart the Gulf Stream.
No. Don't you think everybody realized that it took
No.
longer to go one way or the other? I like all these people that
I'm surprised you're not
supposedly
standing
invented
up
this
for your
stuff.
guy.
I do like Ben Franklin,
You
but
don't
I
have
think
Ben's
some of this...
back. You don't have Ben's back here. It says, thus, Franklin became the first to chart the Gulf Stream.
Baloney.
And my other little...
Like Magellan did?
No, Magellan was circumnavigated the globe. He didn't bother with
Gulf Stream.
the Gulf. No. That's no.
All right.
This is where science. This is science. Remember, not.
This is where I'm a Republican.
Yeah, your facts are your facts,
Vote
and
for
my
Trump.
science is my science. And the other one is that on May 6th, in 1937, I wish it had not happened because I would love to have flown on this thing. The Hindenburg blew up. It was landing at Lakehurst, New Jersey.
Where were you going to fly in the Hindenburg? You think
What a
that
great
old
way to-
balloon would still be flying around 50, 60
What
years
a great
later?
way to travel. You can move slowly.
Oh, my God.
Down.
It's like taking a slow boat to China. Who would want to be on that thing?
Well, apparently,
Isn't it slow?
61 crew and 36 passengers wanted to be on it.
Oh, the humanity.
That is, as it burned in 36 seconds, 7 million cubic feet of hydrogen above your head. So, goodbye, louder than air travel for a while. I'm sorry about because
You love
my other
Zeppelin.
favorite was the Titanic. As a kid, I wanted to sail on the Titanic and fly on the Hindenburg.
That was almost to caught my eye, but I couldn't figure it out. So did you ever see the menus on the Titanic?
Yeah.
They were and I saw that. I was going to use that as a caught my eye because they were talking about the different classes of what they got to eat and who got to eat what. So, okay, I'm sorry I missed that.
No worries.
I was
We're-
late for the pre-production meeting.
We're getting back into the groove of things here in the new studio, and with Garrett and John helping out technically. They do all this great stuff. All right, so Shop Talk.
You pulled a good Shop Talk article.
Well, author Dan Lyons basically was a reporter at Newsweek magazine for about 25 years, journalist reporter, and I think he was either laid off or they were downsized. I'm sure it was a downsize because Newsweek's gone through a couple of contractions. So he's in his early 50s, and he decided he wanted to. He's in the Bay Area, and so really, what are you going to work for in the Bay Area?
So he was a reporter, right?
Newsweek magazine, yeah. And so the deal is that he had to get a job. He has kids, has a family to take care of, and so the most typical company that you would end up with. I'm sorry, he was in Boston. Was a startup, a tech startup. So he lands at a company called HubSpot, and he has since written a memoir of this experience. Which I think was not to his liking, frankly. And when you read the piece, you come away with a very interesting look at where we are today, with how companies view employees, how a worker views the company they work for. So we're long gone are the IBM days where people wore blue suits and black ties. and they had a job for life. Or I guess that's the same in Japan, wasn't it? Like cradle to grave once you work for a corporation.
Yeah, and you didn't leave, and you were part of it was almost
family.
family, and that's what I took out of it. There were a lot of funny quotes in this article.
Yeah.
And the one thing I thought was interesting was this related to what we talked about earlier about being in your middle age and having to find a new career. And the one thing he found was that the companies were, let me know if I characterize it wrong, but just very callous and almost as if you don't want to work here, tough.
And they use words like team.
Right.
You want to be a part of the team?
But you're not family.
But
this
you're not
isn't your family.
No,
This
because
is-
team means the coach can switch you out.
Right.
Family means you can't put family on the street.
Right.
Well, you can, but
So it's like a sports team, and I want to hire the best players.
you
And
know
then
who
they're
uses
going
that
to-
analogy?
Who's that?
That was the article. Amazon analogy. Team player. You're a team player.
It reminded me a little bit of, I had a number of friends, and you know them too, that have worked at Apple. And every single person that has left Apple has said, I had to get my sanity back, or I needed to get work-life balance, or I just needed to get off the treadmill, because there were some employees, there was one woman I know in Paris, they actually had cots in their offices, because if you didn't get something done, you were expected to stay there. And she finally just said enough. And she left. But you're
Well,
getting
the other
paid well.
folks that you know that work at Apple talk about how they set up the cafeteria to be. You never have to leave the campus.
Dry cleaner there. You could have
Everything's set up so
daycare.
you just keep working, and the work-life balance doesn't exist because
Nike's like that too.
you're doing what you love the best, right?
Yeah,
So what were some of the things about Dan Lyon's account of and this new memoir that he wrote about HubSpot? And it was a Boston area startup, and he joined it at 52.
Well, the funniest quote I pulled out was, imagine a frat house mixed with a kindergarten, mixed with Scientology, and you have an idea what life was like at HubSpot. So he said, it had the beanbag chairs and all the unlimited vacation stuff. It was a corporate utopia where there was no need for work-life balance.
Yeah.
Because work is life and life is work. And I read that and I thought, wow, what a horrible thing to be thrown
Well,
into.
and here we're dating ourselves here, because one of the things he said was, I'm old enough to remember the 80s and 90s when technology executives were obsessed with retaining talent. Quote, our most important asset walks out the door every night was the cliche of the day.
Right.
And he just says no longer, because that's this whole treating workers as if they were widgets and team players. I gravitated to this one I love. It turned out I joined a digital sweatshop where people were packed into huge rooms side by side at long tables. Instead of hunching over sewing machines, they stared onto laptops or barked into headsets. And you and I have this great joke. We call it, we're going to have a click factory.
Click factory.
I want a click factory. So a click factory is going to be a bunch of
Bangladesh.
people sitting around with mice, click, 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 and these little sliding noises, and that's like that's like the old factories from the the Industrial Revolution. Click, 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 more clicks, more clicks.
We need more clicks.
And if we don't get the downloads we want, we're going to a click factory to start getting click, 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 download that link.
They said that the other thing they talked about Netflix as being another company that has kind of this very
Work culture.
cutthroat culture, and they said that there was something called VORP, which was
Yeah, I was looking at
value over replacement player. It reminded me a lot of my days in corporate America at Subaru, where we had
Value over replacement.
right. So
Okay.
you decide, do I keep this employee? Is it better to keep the employee and work with them, or is it better to replace them? So we had a
Working with
similar.
them includes training.
Yeah.
Includes.
But we had similar phrasing. Now I don't know if it was known, but I'll say it. So there was if an employee was hypo low mo, they were good.
Wait. Hypo.
Hypo low mo.
Low mo.
You wanted to be hypo low mo.
Can I figure it out?
Yeah, probably. To the first two letters of each word. High potential,
Low.
low maintenance.
Oh, you like that? That's the one you like because there's
Right.
low maintenance.
High potential with low maintenance. And then if you were mopo, so if you were, so reverse way, I'm screwing it up. But so if you were low mo, low po,
high maintenance.
high mo.
Low high. Okay.
So there was the
Oh.
low mo, high mo.
Corporate speak.
I'm confused now as I say it, even though I have it written down. But you wanted an employee who was hypo low mo because you didn't want to have the maintenance. You wanted to have them do their jobs, and you know right away who the employees are. You know the people. I could tell you right away who was and you knew right away if you
worked
were
with
a
some of them.
hypo or a low mo.
I did in fact work with some of the. I think I worked with the second one.
Worked with all of them.
Well, the high ones were the fun. The low ones were oof.
High maintenance usually were and I had one guy. I probably shouldn't tell the story, but I will. He had come to me at the end of the year and said his check was off by 23 cents.
And I remember this story. I love.
So I flipped a quarter at him
And you gave him the quarter, right?
because this guy was.
I made a nickel.
But this guy was also making $40,000 more than me, and he reported to me, and he'd been there forever. He said, my check is short 23 cents. So I flipped him a quarter. Of course, he said, compound it over the time I retire, it's going to be worth $2,200, whatever the number was. But he went down to HR, and then I get immediately called down to HR. Like, did you throw a quarter at the guy? I said, yeah. I said, because he could go
Well,
down and
yeah.
talk to you about his 23 cents, but I don't want to have to deal with, what did he want me to do?
All right. So, did you question the amount of time he put into figuring this out? And the way that
He was a high mo, low po. He had no potential at all. He had zero potential. He'd been there since they opened the doors. They felt sorry for him, but he was a high maintenance, low potential employee. But I still remember. I could still visually say I was sitting here like this, and I reached in my pocket, and went, bing.
Okay, so you saw the movie Office Space, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so to me, the guy you just described is the guy with the red stapler. The glasses, and then they keep moving him away until he's like practically at a dumpster at his desk. Oh my God!
Yeah. So that was. It was an
Is there
interesting.
any other takeaway from that for you? I mean, I relate to this personally, and this goes back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show with this idea of reinvention. What am I going to do now? And we never really finished that conversation. So I'll say that when we did get the news that we were off the other platform, I was already in school. So since January, I've been taking classes on computer animation. Think Pixar, Toy Story, the kind of stuff, character animation. And it's very engrossing, and I'm down the rabbit hole. So
Now you've did animation classes before,
Like 8
about
or
10
9
years
years
ago.
ago.
So how different is it?
now there's actually infrastructure. It's distance learning. The school is out in Emeryville, California. It's founded by Pixar alumni, and you work with top
Is
level
that what they're calling online now? Distance learning?
distance learning.
I thought that was going to slip by. You thought that was going to slip
The classroom is very far. It's
by.
distant.
Distant learning.
It's like Laura Ingalls.
Sounds like you're going on a trip.
Wrapping her
You're
feet in
taking a
newspaper
trip to
and-
Europe.
But Nellie Olson's got boots. Anyway, so I was down the rabbit hole with this already and having a ball, and it's at least 10 or 15 hours a week of work and homework. And so while part of me was panicking and I thought I had to do my resume and, oh my God, I should let the tumbleweed blow away from the LinkedIn profile, I think that was a very cool thing because it allows you at a certain point to just calm down because, you're not going to get anything accomplished by panicking, right?
Right.
Now, I say that rather breezily because I'm not dealing with having a family or I don't have kids in college or I'm not, so I think there are certain realities. You lose a job, you need to either get one right away or you have the ability to say, I think I need to find something. But what I did discover in all this was that more people than not are in the exact situation we are. And I'm not even sure it's an age thing anymore. I think you could talk to a 30-year-old.
You think it's just
I
the
think and
digital economy?
it's the click factories moving us all off. Robots are going to be next. I mean,
Well, for me, the biggest thing about the change was that I didn't take our own advice, which is have your LinkedIn profile updated.
Yeah.
My LinkedIn profile is so
Yeah,
ancient.
I kept thinking you were going to pop up on my thing like
I was
Tim
going
Cheney's
to, but
profile.
then I kept looking at it, and we had Donna Serdula on that talked about it, but I looked at it and was like, yeah, I need to do it, but.
You sit there and you stare at it, and I think that's a big problem for me was this notion of in the old days, and I don't want to date us, but you actually picked up a phone, you called somebody, you came in for an interview. There was a physicality to it, and you knew right off the bat.
Yeah.
You've told tons of stories about someone who comes in. What was
The air
it?
cushion interview.
The air cushion test.
You knew before the air came out of the cushion whether they were going further or not.
Bingo.
I knew that right away. As soon as somebody came in to shake my hand, I was like, yes or no.
So what is the air cushion test with LinkedIn and digital media? You just send these things out blindly. And I agree with you. I think that I ignored our own advice for a little while, and then
Did you update your LinkedIn profile?
Nope.
Nope.
I sit in front of it and I stare at it. And I'm like, what do I really want to say here? I'm going to update.
Would you pay somebody to do it? And that's what I was trying to figure out. Because someone said, why don't you pay somebody to do your resume for you, whatever. And I thought, well,
You know what? Yes, I'm saying it now. I'm a pretty frugal guy, but I would pay for it because I just,
you'd sit and talk to somebody, let them craft it. For
you know, well, I used to own 2 ad agencies, and I've said this a million times to a bunch of people. When it came time to design our logo and anything else that came with the identity of the, yeah, and that's not me. I mean, I'm a graphic artist by
can do
trade. No, you hire someone
I've signed a
else.
check for
Someone
that.
else has a better, an external person's going to have a better view of this. I did that. I mean, I didn't do those.
You didn't do that.
I did graphically. I put us together, but that's not.
Did you pick the color shirts?
I did. Yeah. I actually that was what we were wearing the day of the photograph. You know, because that was based on a photo. Tim and John.
That's us, if you can't tell. Supposedly.
I look like me.
Should we update it?
No, I look
No.
good in that.
No.
Although someone once called us the young Lex Luthor and Superman.
Obviously,
I'm a
brawny.
Lex
I was supposed to
Luthor.
be the brawny paper towel guy.
Oh,
when you
you're
did
the
the
brawny
Christmas
paper
one.
towel guy.
Yeah.
All right, so to wrap up this idea of jobs and mid and career switches, I think that everybody experiences it. I'm not sure that the generational issue is the thing, the ballywick. But I do think that people in their 20s, 30s, I think they've already got a view of this as being more fluid than we ever did to begin with. Because I have friends who are like in their early 30s who have already gone through 4 jobs. And it's not like they've been they really like each job they had, but they move. So they're used to that.
But you also handle it better because having had your own ad agencies.
It's like losing a client.
Right, but you also handle it much better because you didn't all of a sudden hit the panic button, which a lot of people automatically do. There's certainly a little bit of unease, but you know from your agency days that it'll be okay. You just have to figure it out.
As long as you're the owner, yeah. Because we used to get that thing all the time. On a Monday, you'd be talking to a client. I love doing business with you. You are my favorite phone call of the week. Well, thanks, Jim. I'll talk to you later. 3 days later, I'm sorry, we're moving to a new agency, and then you never hear from him again.
Right.
So
Well, when you don't have $200 million behind you, I learned that real quick.
your Rolodex shrinks
You
down.
know,
Yeah.
50 people down to 2 people. So
So our lesson is we might not want to work for HubSpot, but
or Netflix or Amazon or Apple. But if you want to be a sponsor of the Focus
But
Group,
we're
we'd love
team
to have you.
players, though.
Yeah. Come and tell us different.
you know.
Come and tell us different. Hey, it's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Be sure to find us over at focusgroupradio.com, and you'll be able to listen to us at a number of different platforms there. We're going to be right back, and I think we're going to talk to one of our fans, aren't we, John?
Yes.
So stay with us.
The Focus Group is brought to you by Volkswagen Golf Sport Wagon. With loads of cargo space, sleek design, the versatility of an SUV, and the maneuverability of a car, the Golf Sport Wagon is in a category all its own. Learn more at VW.com.
This is the Focus Group with Business Insiders Tim Bennett and John Nash.
I fought worse monsters than you for years in Hollywood. I know how to win the hard way.
We're all business, except when we're not.
Don't f with me, fellas! This ain't my first time at the rodeo.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host Tim Bennett. Find us at focusgroupradio.com. Our shows usually drop on Saturday morning, and I think because we're having such a fun time with the video that we're going to also have this as a YouTube channel. And maybe in the future there's streaming live.
Dye my hair, John. My hair's turning gray.
Preen for the camera. You could actually look directly into that lens, like
I
your.
don't like how fat this camera makes me look.
You know, it adds weight.
Like I need
Not
that.
these not John's cameras.
Yeah, we get
John's
slimming cameras.
don't add. Yeah, these are slimming cameras. They don't add weight. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I thought, oh, look. You know.
Hey, one thing I wanted to do is we had talked about our listeners being fans of the show, and I got this letter that came to you and I, and it said, "Dear Tim and John, said I wanted to send along a quick note to let you say how much I miss hearing you every Saturday on our old platform." So I listened for a number of years, and you guys really had me looking forward to every weekend. I would tune in just to see what you were going to talk about. I also joined the tasting room. I bought Tupperware, and I stole one of your ideas that I now use for my clients. You had on a guest, Brian Roman,
Oh my God.
from AdMark 360, who supplies your focus group socks. So he said that he and his partner have a real estate firm in D.C., Northern Virginia, and they were trying to look for some sort of giveaway to get clients. And so they contacted Brian, and they've got these, a pair for you and me. And they're using these socks.
Are these the same
these are
manufacturer?
right, same
as
manufacturer.
the
So he
socks?
said, I stole your idea.
Oh, look, but they did this funny.
Right. He said, we created our own set of socks with our own logo. They've been a big hit. Clients love them. And he said, we're going to be definitely ordering more from AdMark 360. I wanted to thank you both for the information and the good idea. Thanks for letting us steal it. He said, could you please put the socks on and put it on your Facebook page?
You bet.
So you and I will both
I'll
take a
snap.
picture of these.
I love when things like that happen. And there's two lessons here, right? Like, so now his takeaway from our sock thing was it was a smart promo thing, right? That secondly, they wrote a letter.
Well,
you and I talk about this when you get something from someone, like a little handwritten note. It could be literally 2 sentences, but getting a physical thank you note is.
Well, it was a nice hand typed note. So it's Caldwell Banker. He's residential mortgage. It's M. Joseph Reef. It's from the Reef team in D.C. and Northern Virginia. So thank you. I'll say Joseph Reef because that's what it looks like, because I don't know what the M is. But that was a really nice thing, and it was really a nice surprise.
I was wondering why you had these on the desk.
Well, you saw them, right?
I saw them, but I thought...
You and I wanted to do an insert. We just haven't done it.
Yeah, there's a million
Anyway,
things
we'll try those on. You'll see them on our Facebook page. We'll do it on... we'll try them on and put them on our Facebook page.
We have our guy. All right, so we are joined in studio by phone, by the magic of telecommunications, and by Garrett and John.
What was our last call on our old show?
Our very last caller on the very last hour of the old platform, which is sinking into the sea. It was none other than our good friend Paul in Mass. And I believe Paul is joining us now for our very first show on the very new platform.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Oh my God! Can you believe we haven't heard that voice in 2 months? How great is it to hear your voice, Paul?
I can't tell you how we've missed hearing your voice. How you doing, my friend?
Wonderful, and honestly, there are many more people that miss you guys than miss me, and I'm okay with that.
No, but hey, as John said, we appreciate over the years your support of our show and being our final call. And so John, when we were putting the show together, said, we should have Paul and Mass call in. And eventually, when we do this live, you can call in all the time. But for now, as we're doing a live to tape, it's we wanted to have you call in. What have you been doing the last couple months?
Last couple of months, since OutQ died, I call it a death instead of a cancellation, I've really discovered podcasts and the online radio. I started with Derek and Romaine in January when they started up, because I was a fan of their show and I was upset when they were gone last summer. So that kind of got me more into the online radio, and I've discovered, for me, honestly, now, podcasts and having them download through my iTunes, I have radio on demand.
Wow.
I could never figure out the on-demand for the Sirius app thing, and it never held the shows long enough. You had like 5 days to listen or whatever. So I've really gotten used to having my shows on when I want them on, or the like. So I've just, I had to rummage around. There's a wonderful podcast that you guys, if you haven't heard it, you've really got to give them a try. It's called Feast of Fun. They're out of Chicago. These guys have been doing it for like 10 years, I guess. But it's a hysterical gay podcast. They got drag queens and just...
What was it?
It's Feast of Fun. F-E-A-S-T. Feast of Fun.
Feast of Fun. Yep. Okay, cool.
You know, Paul, you've always been a very good help for us old birds, and our sometimes lack of social media skills. But I do agree with you about radio on demand and content on demand. And that's actually, it took Tim and I several weeks to migrate to this, because we are so used to doing a live show and having that live element be part of it that we were like, how does this really work? And now the studio that we're in right now, we're being videotaped. It's going to be on YouTube. And we're having a ball. It's just a very so you'll get to see us on YouTube. You'll get to hear yourself actually. But we're having a fun time.
Well, the whole video casting is a whole nother layer that's added to it. Johnny McGovern has that Hey Queen on YouTube, and you can search heyqueen.tv, and it has all of them. But that's another thing that I've been listening to and watching, and he does everything on video, and it's also in podcast form. But I think that more and more, I mean, cars, you guys would know more than me, but I really believe that, within the next 3 to 5 years, cars are going to be Wi-Fi ready when you pick them up on the lot. And you're not going to have your hotspot or use your data on your phone or whatever.
No, you're right, Paul. A lot of cars are, particularly General Motors is starting. A lot of their cars are now their own hotspots, and a lot of them have a lot of the different apps already built into the instrument panel. So, yeah, technology is changing. It's changing quick. But
big time. And I've got to send you the link because I just found today Google Play has started their own podcast listing for your neutral carpeting and your 2 seasons of the Casual Fridays. You can have listed on Google Play now.
Oh, yeah,
it's just like iTunes, but it's for the Android format.
That's actually a great one because our good friend Paul Hagen, who Paul and Mass knows quite well, always complained that he couldn't find us. He's like he uses a Samsung or an Android phone, and he wanted to. I think Stitcher is another big platform for the Android.
Yep.
But to have Google Play do what iTunes is doing is very clever.
They just finally figured it out without having to worry about getting sued by Apple for infringement or whatever. But no, I mean, things. I'm so excited you guys are coming back, even if it's not live. It's just I can't believe how much I've missed you. My Saturdays have gotten almost productive. I have been doing that little thing with Garrett over on his channel. On Blog Talk Radio, but OutQ going was something very sad for me. I had a lot of my life centered around OutQ and the various shows on there. But the ending of it really has opened up this whole new horizon.
No, that's what we have said, and it really has opened up lots of new avenues for us. And as we said, we appreciate your support, Paul, and we've. Like most things, are against the clock. So we want to make sure you are our first call. So thanks again for giving us a buzz, and we'll see you on some other shows.
Thank you, guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Paul and Mass. Yay,
Thank you,
we
Paul.
love Paul and Mass.
One of the, Paul and Mass is a character, and he's been real
Our favorites.
been real supportive of us. One of the things you and I have done, and I don't know how it happened, we started doing taste tests of different things. We used to do a segment called Focus Group.
It happened
where we'd surprise you.
It happened because you and I, against our better instincts, happen to like certain foods.
Right.
And one of them is Oreo cookies.
But our very first one that we did was licorice.
It was Red Vine versus
Twizzler.
And I think that I was duped into choosing something because you know
I tricked
that
you. I gave you a different one than everyone else, just to see what you would do. And I knew you really liked Twizzler.
I always like to agree with people.
You do you're gray. I'm black and white. You're gray. You're the nice guy. I'm the.
You're the curmudgeon.
Curmudgeon.
Yeah.
So when we said we were coming back, John said, let's do an Oreo taste test. So I don't know if you've seen these. So this is the latest limited edition flavor. It's
okay, so
it's filled cupcake Oreos.
And the key here is the packages are way smaller than the normal one. And the thing is, they charge the same amount of money for this.
Smart. It's like what they're doing with small cans of soda right now. Okay. So here,
we're tasting to see what we think of this.
Let you taste and see what you think. But so
is this supposed to be like? Remember when we were kids? We had those Hostess cupcakes that were
exactly right. So the cream's in the middle.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can see this but they did a dollop of cream in the middle. So it's 2 chocolate cookies with a dollop of cream in the middle.
Oh, they did. Ooh. Yes, they did that.
And anyway, we're hoping that Oreos is one of our sponsors because we've done so many of these. But John,
they're getting more free publicity.
There's another new flavor coming out this month called strawberry shortcake. Have you seen that one in the stores?
I'm not going to do that one.
It's a vanilla cookie with strawberry cream filling. So I was
Okay.
wondering about that. What do you think of these?
So far, I like it. I don't really think I've gotten the cream part yet.
So here's some of the other flavors that I think we've missed because we've tried almost all of them. But there was a root beer float. We didn't try that. That
didn't
was
try root beer float.
2014. Watermelon. Did we try watermelon?
I don't want to try one.
Fruit punch.
Fruit punch. Ugh.
They re-released Red Velvet, which you liked.
Favorite.
So
The Red
that's
Velvet
in
favorite.
stores now. And Cinnabon, you and Barry had tested when I was in
You
a
like that one.
snowstorm.
Yeah.
Now, something I did find in doing research here is something we have to look into. Did you know there's something called the Oreo Wonder Vault located in New York City? It's where they do all the testing and tasting. So it's the Oreo Wonder Vault. It says it's located in New York City. They spend over a year tasting over different 50 different flavors and perfecting the taste. They try every single flavor with the chocolate cookie and with the vanilla cookie, and they decide which one is best. So I'm thinking we need a trip to the Oreo Wonder Vault.
I think it's not even a question of you think we need. I think they need to have us there because look at what we're doing.
We need milk.
Now, what'd you think?
You know, I'm not a chocolate fan.
But it's not too chocolatey. I actually going to have a little.
But I don't know if
have
it
to
tastes
do-
like. I don't know if it tastes like a Hostess cupcake. Do you think so?
Well, no, I just thought it looked like a Hostess cupcake.
No, that's the whole deal. It's supposed to be like a cupcake filling, like you had that sort of.
I mean, when you do it this way, it's incredibly unappetizing. Just look at whoosh, they smush something down in the middle of the tooth.
These would be good with cold milk, don't you think?
Everything's good with cold milk. I give it a thumbs up though. I like this.
So we like the cupcake or the filled cupcake Oreos. That was it. All right. So that's our focus group this week. When we come back, we're going to tease a new segment that was an idea that our listeners gave us about a new segment to add here on the focus group. So we'll be right back after this quick break.
The Focus Group is brought to you by the newly redesigned Volkswagen Passat. Give your family time a serious upgrade. Visit VW.com to learn more.
Let's make some money.
He's the business manager. Let him manage.
This is the Focus Group.
Champagne! Champagne for everyone!
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host Tim Bennett. We love Lucy, by the way. Every time I hear her say, he's the business manager, let him manage, it takes me back to a show that is absolute perfection in TV.
Season 4, episode 1, I think that was from.
Well, you
I
know
remember.
more
You
than
know,
I
it's
do.
on the Hallmark Channel, 6 shows a day. They show Lucy starting
Well, they've
at
got
5 in
how
the
many
morning.
years of this stuff to run? You know, the amazing thing that Tim and I always talk about the I Love Lucy, you never know what time of year it is.
Nope.
You don't know who's in the presidency. There's no mention of an external world that grounds it in some decade, right?
I don't know how they did it.
They were smart. Those two were very smart. All right. We did a listener survey a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And it was surprising to us because it was the largest survey we've ever fielded, a.k.a. the greatest number of responses. Most of those responses came within the first 3 hours. I think 90% of the people answered it. And there was a section where you could write comments. And one of the comments that we got was a listener said, if you're going to go to this format, we love the idea of you doing something called Ask Tim and John. And so the idea would be that you would call in or leave a voicemail or email us a question that we haven't seen yet.
Right.
So
the producer will take the question and hand me your questions, and you'll get my questions, and then you'll pick.
do you want to have Garrett? Do you want to play the? If it's loaded up, you could play the imaging for the.
It's time for Ask Tim and John.
Carol Merrill.
Call 914-FOCUS-GR and ask Tim and John
Can I spin the letters?
Yeah.
If your question gets
told
selected
them game
and used
showy.
on air, you'll be sporting a pair of the famous Focus Group socks.
Yeah, it's
All
great.
to
We grew
make
up
it a
with this
little
kind of
fun.
thing.
Tim and
Gene
John will have
Rayburn.
no idea what question will be thrown at them, so be nice. Again, that number is 914-FOCUS-GR, 914-362-8747.
Now, the voiceover artist is a guy named Drew Birdsey, and he's out in Las Vegas, and we love Drew's voice.
Drew.
And you had this funny idea where you could like guests of the focus group stay at
Right.
at the end of the end.
This is Drew Birdsey
the
speaking.
voice of the focus group. All right. So did we have any questions?
Well, Joe from Catalina had one that I picked for you.
Joe from Catalina.
Well, there were two of
Joe's
them,
a
and
troublemaker. If I remember the Joe you're talking.
So if you have a question for John and I, though, it's 914-362-8747. There's a
Get a
voicemail
voicemail,
there.
yeah.
Leave your question and let us know how we can contact you, whether it's a phone call or probably email
Callback
simpler.
number, yeah.
Or callback number, and it's 914-FOCUS-GR. So the question that I had for you, if I can find it, because you know I'm always the paper guy, John.
Paper don't break.
Paper don't break. So it was...
Paper don't run on batteries. Paper doesn't need charging. People aren't running around looking for a plug with paper.
Here it is. Of
I
course,
got
the
to
last
charge with
piece of
paper.
What was the best? So this is for John. What was the best work you ever did, and what was some work you did that you weren't so proud of? So this would be from your agency days, I would say, right?
Well,
Could be
I'm
something.
certainly not going to answer when I was in the men's department at Marshall's, brand names for less, or the service desk, which I got kicked off of. What was the best work
The
we
best
ever
work
did?
you did.
I would have to say that two things. First is the TV work you allowed us to do for Subaru, the very first custom
Creative.
automotive spots for the LGBT consumer for the launch of MTV's Logo network.
Those are fun spots.
And right up there with the Subaru work is some of the work we did with Absolute Vodka. And in particular, there's an ad I'm fond of because I remember how I thought of it.
Can I say what it is?
Yeah.
Can I guess?
Yeah, you can
Is it
guess.
the ruler ad?
Yes, it's the ruler ad, yeah.
It was a great ad.
So the creative brief for Absolute that year was in an absolute world. And that was a vague kind of thing where it really just meant in this world, in Absolute's world, certain things could happen.
Right.
And so how can we adapt that to the LGBT consumer? So I thought about it. And as a creative director, you're supposed to be the one that comes up with the ideas. And so one day I came up with this idea of showing a ruler, and every single mark on the ruler was 8. 8, 8, 8, 8, 8. And
Sounds like a perfect world.
Because in an absolute world, everyone measures up. And that seems to be the measurement everybody wants.
Are you in an absolute world? Everyone measures up.
Everyone could be 8. You could be 8. I could be 8.
You're an 8. Don't you want to be a 10?
Let's not push it. I mean, but the funny thing about that campaign was it was so designed for gay men in particular that I remember, and women got it too, that they were all upset that, could we really run this ruler ad? I'm like, it's a ruler that has 8, and it just says in an absolute world.
It's a straight woman.
It is a straight woman, yeah. So yes,
Those poor ladies are never in an absolute world.
They're often a world of pain, but that's another matter entirely. So yeah, it was the TV stuff, all the print work we did. I mean, if I had to stack it though, the TV ads were really out of the park, and then and that Absolute ad it's one of those rare ones when that comes together and people get it.
Is there something you weren't proud of? Or I shouldn't say proud of, as the question was asked, is there something that maybe you could have done better, you thought was going to do well, but maybe didn't, or put you on the spot. I'll tell you.
Campaign. Oh yeah, the direct mail campaign.
Yeah, there you go. Did I have to prod you? At least that was, of all the years I've worked with you, that
I
one.
have never got that call before. I was driving up from that meeting. Yeah.
So John had teamed up with another, and John and I have known each other since high school.
Sophomore year, biology lab, frog dissection. You were assigned to my team, and I was like on valedictorian track, and I thought, what is this jock
I was
doing
the
on
dumb
my
jock
frog
that needed to come here
dissection
so I could go run track, and so that's how we met way back in sophomore year and created this great friendship now over a number of years. But a lot of people didn't know when you got your agency got hired at Subaru to do work, you got it on your credentials. And that's why you guys got the business.
People did not necessarily know that we knew each other.
No, and then eventually people found out we knew one another, but there was an RFP that went out, and 3 different agencies were selected to come in and present. And all these agencies came in with these big dog and pony shows and stereo systems and TV and flat screens and all kinds of comps. And John had teamed up with another agency.
We thought we were presenting to
and there's
8 people.
There's 30 people around the boardroom table, and they come in with nothing.
Oh, I had comps. We had
You
handmade.
had a couple of matchsticks.
It was that. It was
like this.
it was a number 10
And a little
envelope.
thing, and
A little
I'm
thing,
like,
yeah.
okay, where's the show?
And it was the room was filled with 30. How many
30
people?
plus people, and me on the line because I'm like, no, we got to give these guys a chance. They do great work for us in the diversity space, and total disaster. How you got the business to this day, I don't
Well,
know.
I love what you told me though. Was it either Tom or Fred said, I liked the thing that the guys from the Moon did.
Because it was Moon City.
Our
Productions.
company used to be called Moon City, and he was like, I like the guys from the Moon. I like
Moon.
what they did. But that presentation. So I got a call. I was 40 miles up the New Jersey Turnpike.
Driving back to
and
New
I get
York.
this, how do you think you did, Nash? And I said, well, if you're judging us on our creativity and the concepts that we put forward, then by all means, we knocked everybody out of the water. I said, but if it's on presentation, I said, I think it was one of my worst days. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I got dressed down. By the time I got to the Lincoln Tunnel, it's this big.
Well, and you probably wouldn't have brought that up as your word as a proud moment. I think
I
part
might have blocked it.
well,
Blocked it.
but you still ended up getting the business and did good work on it, and so you saved it. So that was what was important. But so that's how this goes. Do you have a question for me or no?
No, I don't.
You want one anyway or no? Do you have one off the top of your head? I want to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
All right, we'll say goodbye. So, hey, listen, this is our maiden voyage of the focus group. John likes to call it Focus Group 2.0, right? Is that what you're calling it?
Yeah, we used to say
V.
V.2, but you didn't
Yeah.
like that V.
I didn't like it.
thing. Yeah.
But we want to again thanks everybody for joining us. We want to thank our partner here, Volkswagen, and give a special thanks to them. They've been with us for a number of years. We particularly love the Golf Sport Wagon. And one great thing that's coming up later this fall is John and I are going to be taking a road trip to some all-wheel drive territory in a new car, which is an all-wheel drive Golf all-track wagon. So be sure to look for that. It's a car everybody's been waiting for and a car that we're certainly excited to drive. So we'll be doing that later in the season. So be sure to check out VW.com for all the information about the cool vehicles they have. And join us next week.
Join the focus group on all forms of social media. It's easy. And like good marketers, our branding is uniform across all platforms. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Periscope at Focus Group Radio. Again, join the conversation across all of our social media platforms at Focus Group Radio.